and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. That is Courtney and I'm Brianna.
Hello.
So we are on a new letter this week, and before we get into our story, let's cover a little bit of business. So we've got links to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter in our show notes every week if you want to follow us on there, and then you can get information about when our episodes are coming out, when there's new Patreon episodes, and some memes and breaking true crime news too. So if you want to check that out, then follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you haven't checked out our Patreon, I highly recommend it. We just put out a new bonus episode on a really interesting case. So definitely head over to patreon.com/murderdictionarypodcast and you can join our Patreon. And on that note, we want to say thank you to a few people that joined Patreon this week. So thank you to Gia, Alexandra, Carrie, and Jill.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. We appreciate you being on our Patreon. And definitely check out that new bonus episode.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oof, man.
That was a mess.
There's a part of me that wants to release it on our regular feed for like a sneak peek for people to see what's going on our Patreon. So I may do that in the next couple months.
I like that idea.
Just so, some people don't know what's going on Patreon, then you get to see the kind of bonus stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And Court's working on a couple other episodes too.
Yes,
about, I don't know. Should I give things away?
No.
Okay, cool. Surprise episodes for Patreon.
Let's do that.
So with all that said, I think we're good to get into our story for tonight. So we're on a new letter. Our alphabet is on letter I, and we're doing insanity cases.
Sounds perfect.
It's going to be insane.
It is going to be insane.
Dad jokes.
It's kind of awful. Insanity.
Yeah, this one's a rough case.
Insanity pleas in general are going to be horrible things. Because you have to be insane to do these things, if that's the question.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely some horrific cases. And it's so heartbreaking because if someone is insane, holding them accountable for something that they weren't really present to do. But then at the same time, you've got survivors, you've got family members that now don't have their loved ones. So the insanity cases are always really hard to weigh out. It's just so tragic all around,
And proving this.
Yeah.
Always. How are you going to prove this?
Yeah. When you have cases that aren't insanity, it seems not cut and dry, but usually it's like, okay, the killer doesn't have remorse and, send him away, But when you have this, it's like they didn't even know what was going on. And then it feels so preventable because, if you have treatment and if the mental health is being taken care of and if you have loved ones around saying, hey, maybe, we need to get you back on meds or whatever the case may be, a lot of times it is preventable. And so it's just really sad knowing that it could have been avoided.
Yeah. And then there's always people using it as an excuse and they're perfectly coherent, but we usually sniff those ones out.
Yeah. But that always just infuriates me.
Yeah.
Because there are people really, truly struggling with mental illness. And so to have people come out of the blue just like, oh, yeah, I was sick. I didn't know what was going on. It's like, you're an asshole. You're a murderer. That's the end.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So anyway, we are talking about Zakieya, Avery, and Monifa Sanford this week for our first insanity case. And Courtney had referred to them as the exorcism killer or the demon assassin. Is that what the press was doing?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I cannot take credit for that.
Okay.
This was in the press. It was the exorcism killer or the demon assassins is what they were known as. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with them because of that.
Okay. Got it.
That's all.
So Monifa Sanford and Zakieya Avery met in Germantown, Maryland in 2013. 21-year-old Monifa lived with her father, and she went to a local school called Montgomery Junior College in Maryland. So to bring in a little extra money while she was attending college, she got a job at this giant grocery superstore. 28-year-old Zakieya, her friend, lived with her boyfriend, Martin Harris, along with their 4 children. They had an 8-year-old son, Martello, a 5-year-old daughter, Tania, 2-year-old daughter named Zayana, and 18-month-old Narelle. When I looked at that, I was like, oh my God, that's so many kids. And she's in her 20s.
Yeah. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. I'm definitely, do you, if you're the kind of big family person, go ahead and do it. But I'm already overwhelmed for Zakieya just knowing that.
Same.
Yeah. And so she was, working really hard. Not only was she a mom, but she was also working as a pharmacist. She was a pharmacy technician and she, supported her growing family. I can't imagine how busy she was.
That's a big job too.
Yeah. The 2 women met through a small church called Exosia Ministries, where Zakieya was a member of their dance troupe. I know churches have bands, but dancers?
Yeah, I don't know of dance troupes necessarily, like youth groups, maybe events or something, but I guess they have choir.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in church. I've seen a lot of different church programs, but dancing, especially for adults, like the kids will put on a little show, but that always stood out to me. Like, what is the dancing for?
Well, in the research I did,
okay,
this church came into my mind with some questions a few times.
Okay.
There was a few different things. Dance troupe doesn't really surprise me.
Was it a hippie thing or was it kind of like
holy roller shit?
Got it. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Is this coming from just kind of experiencing God through dance?
Yes.
Got it.
That is what I believe we were experiencing.
It seems like such a simple thing and we could pass over it, but it's like raised so many questions to me. What kind of church is this?
I was intrigued immediately. Like, was it hip hop?
Right.
I
like,
was curious.
Are you a modern dancer?
Exactly.
Is this ballet? Like, yeah, I get it. So it was a pretty small church from what we understand. It was a very small group of people. And so all the members seemed to know each other. And because of that, a lot of them became close friends. Monifa and Zakieya were particularly close, and they often referred to each other as best friends or even sisters. They had really similar personalities and were both seen as very introverted and quiet, maybe a little bit shy and meek. Everybody described the 2 of them in the exact same way.
Yeah.
Monifa was extremely affectionate and very nurturing. And both of them had very sweet dispositions, but they kind of kept to themselves. Wallflowers. Yeah.
Shy.
Mm-hmm. While they were hanging out, Zakieya began showing Monifa these YouTube videos about demons. And the intention behind it was that they would be able to spot demons in the videos and in pictures.
I think this is more like those videos of the Queen when she turns into a lizard person and like the Illuminati.
Really?
Yeah, no, that's what it sounds like to me, because when they were describing these videos again and again, it was like, well, you see their eyes change, they go black. And I've seen these videos where it's, they have the president at whoever it is at the time. It's always Queen Elizabeth,
right?
Turning into a lizard person about the Illuminati somehow.
Oddly
the
enough,
gray people.
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
But I didn't think that that's what they were watching. For some reason, I envisioned it as like we were talking about simulators, war simulators or whatnot, combat simulation. That's what I was envisioning. Like there's these demons popping out and you have to kill a Resident Evil style.
I feel like it was way simpler than that.
Okay.
Through reading this, it seems, it probably led to that. There was a period of time when all these videos were going around and all the Illuminati, and it was really when it was fake news all over like Facebook and stuff like that. And those videos were everywhere and it was just clickbait. And I feel like it probably started something that simply.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially when they're talking about just identifying the subtleties of like, oh, this person's turning into a demon. Because that's what they were trying to do, is train to see the signs of someone turning evil or whatnot.
Yeah.
So that does make sense.
Doomsday prepping.
Yeah. After a while of watching all these demon videos, Monifa began telling Zakieya that she thought there were demons at her father's house, as well as the grocery store that she worked at. For years, Monifa had been experiencing challenges with her mental health, including hallucinations and hearing voices. She also attempted suicide twice.
I think she was real susceptible to having the open mind that Zakieya maybe needed, to have someone who had like a joint belief in this demon thing, like, hey, check this out. And Monifa was just the perfect audience.
Yeah.
It's, you know, how do these people meet? It's just,
I know. And that's, again, with the insanity, like all these things come together. It's the perfect, storm of events coming together and things going wrong. You know, maybe if they had each made friends with a different person from church, they wouldn't have been looking into demons together.
Yes.
The whole thing. But yeah, once you have, a person that's already susceptible to hallucinations, visually and auditory hallucinations, man, putting the idea of demons being around in that person's head is just really dangerous and really sad. Once she started studying demons with Zakieya, she confided in her that she had seen demonic shadows and heard these strange noises at her dad's house. But instead of thinking that this might be a mental health issue that maybe needed attention, they both thought that this had to be the demons that they were studying. They were convinced that it was happening in real life. Around the same time, Zakieya broke up with Martin, the father of her 4 children. Not only did their relationship end, but he also just up and moved to Los Angeles and just left her to care for the children alone.
Yeah, it sounds like something happened and he cut and ran and didn't take the kids, just went to LA and then maybe periodically checked in. But something happened here.
Something doesn't sit right about this. And
No.
Even though we don't have all the information and he hasn't come forward saying that there was an event, it seems very strange that out of the blue, he would not only leave the house, but leave the entire state, leave the coast.
And all the kids.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, other coast. Yeah, like he's running from one end to the other.
Yeah, it would be completely possible for him to just move out, separate from her, and still be involved in his children's life. There's had to be something that happened for him to need to get so far away.
And, Zakieya's already a little, questionable. Why would you leave her with these 5 or all these kids? The isolation, all of it. It's just not good.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame him because we just don't know what happened. And I know that's not what you're doing, but it's just like, I have to wonder what happened. And if maybe there were signs that something was going wrong and he chose to get himself out, but he had the opportunity to help the kids too. If she wasn't stable, if things were going, deteriorating with her mental health, then, he could have intervened if he were closer. So it left them very vulnerable. It's just really sad. Monifa was extremely supportive while Zakieya went through the separation. And then Zakieya suggested that she move in with her. She had a 2-story townhouse on Cherry Bend Drive. And since she was unhappy living with her father, it just seemed like a good move for her to move into the townhouse.
Yeah, one big happy.
Right.
Monifa loves kids. Why not?
Right. So it just meant that Monifa could get out of her dad's house, maybe spend more time with her best friend. And also, Zakieya could get help with all the extra childcare now that her partner's gone. She was trying to do it all alone. Soon after moving in together, they began really isolating themselves away from everybody. And they were not socializing with any of their friends anymore. It was particularly strange that they hadn't even attended church in a couple months. So it just seems like it happened in waves. Like maybe they stopped hanging out with acquaintances, then friends, then stopped even leaving the house and didn't go to church.
Yeah.
It just got progressively worse.
I think so too.
The more isolated they became, the more they became obsessed with demons. Monifa believed that one of the voices that she was hearing regularly was Satan himself. She believed that herself and Zakieya had been initiated into a very elite group of, quote, demon assassins because Satan had told her so.
Okay. Just take that at face value.
Yeah.
Just believe what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just the isolation like breeds just not right thoughts. I don't know how else to put it. Like things that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
This is where you get the paranoia too.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel bad because obviously she's just not tethered to reality and these are hallucinations and she just doesn't know it. But like you said, the more time they spend alone, only researching demons, that's all they would talk about,
Nothing
you know?
else.
So it takes over your mind, you know, especially if you're struggling to begin with. It's just so sad. Satan also told her that he was going to, quote, kill the babies. And if she wanted them to go to heaven, then she had to do it herself. Even though the original hallucinations originated from Monifa, Zakieya believed them wholeheartedly. She referred to herself as the commander, and Monifa was the sergeant of the demon assassins. Both women believed that Satan was going to kill the children, and again, in order to just save their souls, they needed to take the initiative to do it first.
It's wild how this just warps.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like nothing. It's just there's nothing even to say.
Right.
You know?
In so many cases, you want to like analyze and get to the bottom of it and see, okay, what happened in the childhood. And with a case like this, it's just complete hallucination. And I think it has to be rooted maybe in a little bit of religious fanaticism. You know, maybe they were raised in a very religious house and that kind of becomes distorted, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, there's just no way of making sense of it and breaking it down and like, oh, this happened because of this. Usually you can kind of trace things back, but this really is just all made up in her head. Monifa seemed to be slightly more convinced of all of the demon assassin business and the conversations with Satan. And of course, this was happening especially because she was the one who was actually hearing the voices in the first place.
Yeah. Monifa struggled for a long time.
Yeah.
And Zakieya was just like the perfect person to bounce this off of and just see what sticks. And Zakieya was into it. And it feels like the kill the kids to save the kids thing is kind of like the whole helter-skelter theory in Manson. Like there's this whole theory behind it, you know, that we're going to have the big race war and then we're going to come back and all this stuff. Kill the kids to save the kids. Kind of feels like the helter-skelter theory. Does that make sense?
Like a bigger picture thing? Like we're just doing this, but ultimately this is about the war between heaven and hell.
This is it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the delusion of having that much power over, you know, that's so, I don't know, overwhelming to me that they would think like the world is on my shoulders. The fate of the world is on my shoulders.
Scientologists believe that.
Yeah. It's nuts. In addition to their very obsessive preoccupation with demons, they were also extremely paranoid about inanimate objects being suspicious. So a lot of times they would get rid of various objects that they believed were actually possessed. For example, like stuffed animals, little toys sitting around. They believed that somehow these inanimate objects had become possessed. They had to get rid of them. So they just began throwing things away left and right. They also believed that demons were at different times possessing different members of the family within the household. They watched these YouTube videos of demons and devils and dancing because they believed that they were warding off demonic spirits.
That's where the dance troupe comes in.
But that doesn't truly make sense to me. Like, you're watching the videos in order to get rid of them. They're really, I mean, obviously, they're not really with it enough to understand that logically you're just making it worse in your mind, you know? But at the same time, I don't understand how it would make sense that you think that just watching the videos is going to like clean up your house, you know? Like it's the same effect as sage, you know?
No, they're preparing themselves for when it happens, for the moment. We need to be ready. We need to be aware. We need to learn about it. We need to be able to focus and see them when they're here because they're coming.
Man. So it's training.
Yeah, no,
for
that's
their
exactly.
fights.
I'm like, what's the
Because I always think
that's
that
exactly what it is to me. It's, you know, we watch true crime constantly. That's what we fill our heads with. So I'm telling you, we'll survive, right?
yeah,
So when it comes, he's coming to kill us. The murderer is coming. We just got to be ready.
that is a good point because it is a very like anxiety based true crime obsession.
It is the worst thing in the world for me to watch as much Dateline and all these shows that I do, because then I'm sure someone's in my house before I'm in there.
Right.
All of it. Every day of my life, I'm about to be killed by someone. They're about to kill me. I just got to be ready.
But my anxiety tells me
Am I in a
that
insanity plea case? Maybe?
I'm learning more.
Yes.
Like
I'm
I'll be more
preparing.
prepared.
There it is.
You know,
They're doomsday prepping.
I'm going to be, you know,
You're going to be ready.
what's her name?
What's her name? Just give me a sentence and I'll give you her name. Come on. What are you doing? You've got me. I'm the encyclopedia.
You know
Cortanica.
everything.
What is it?
I can't even think of a place to start, and that's the worst part. It's not Dr. Death. It's the other one.
Dirty John.
Dirty John.
Okay.
Jesus. It's
The
what's
Newells.
her name from Dirty
Deborah
John?
Newell and her daughter Tara.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you could save yourself because you watched enough of The Walking Dead. That's what
girl-
I think. I'm convinced in my mind that's what I'm doing.
That's what we're all doing.
Right. But they think that they're winning the war between heaven and hell by watching YouTube videos.
So now in the Seinfeld Bizarro world, right? For Bizarro Jerry, the sign, you know what I'm talking about, Superman's alternate universe.
I don't think you could talk any faster than you did just
Catch
a
up.
second ago.
Catch up.
That was so many words.
So in a Bizarro world where black is white and up is down, right now we're insane. And Monifa
Right.
and Zakieya are on the level.
Right.
And it's coming. Everyone else is just too stupid to see it.
I could imagine them holed up in their house telling themselves that.
No one is
like,
as smart as
nobody
us,
is
Zakieya,
ready.
Right? Yeah.
But we're watching these YouTube videos.
They're
we're going
all
to be ready when the
gonna be
shit goes
so
down.
sorry.
Exactly.
They should have been prepping.
Oh, I can't even imagine. The woman also kept a notebook full of all sorts of random notes. There were some that were just as mundane as like a shopping list or whatever, but there were other notes in there that outlined what they were experiencing and definitely showed that there was a presence of demons in their lives. One entry read, quote, "They're in our clothes, our shoes, computer chips, radio, all of the things that we live in."
That is so devastating to me. That breaks my heart.
Me too.
Yeah.
Just hearing that, I mean,
Yeah.
it was so real to them that their entire lives, every little nuance of their being had been taken over by demons. That's so terrifying. They were living in a horror movie and it was happening in their minds.
Yeah. Ooh, that's scary.
It's so sad. Right before they stopped attending church, the other members recall hearing them discuss these demon assassins. They talked about mock exorcisms and their 4 members, as well as their ranking system. But of course, like so often happens, nobody took it seriously. They really just chalked it up to being kind of eccentric, but they didn't see any harm in whatever was going on.
Probably thought it was a TV show.
Right. Yeah, they thought, oh, they just watched a movie. Okay, they're talking about, The Conjuring,
There it is. The Ring.
Right.
Whatever.
Nobody really thought that they truly believed what was going on. And again, that's one of the things that's so sad to me. If people realized how real this was for them and how tortured they were in their own minds, there could have been some sort of intervening and encouraging them to get some help and seek treatment. And the fact that nobody thought it was, seriously happening, I mean, it's just so sad that it was preventable at some point when they were still kind of talking to people. Both of the women began dating new men. And once things got serious, they referred to the group of the four of them as the members of the Demon Assassins.
It's their band.
Right?
It's their garage band.
Honestly. And I think one or both of them changed their Facebook status.
Yes.
That
they did.
Were in a relationship.
Yes, they did.
On Thursday, January 16th, 2014.
Pros like you know trusted brands have a hand in helping you nail the job. Start with Lowe's, where you'll find those brands and savings too. Stop in today and pick up a new Metabo HPT 1 3/4 inch 15-degree pneumatic roofing nailer for $20 less, now $269. And get a new DeWalt Tough Grip 52-piece steel hex shank screwdriver bit set for just $14.98, saving you $5. For even more ways Lowe's saves your business money, stop by the Pro Desk and talk to our dedicated Pro team today. Whatever you need to get the job done, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 11/6 U.S. only. Pros like you know trusted brands have a hand in helping you nail the job. Start with Lowe's, where you'll find those brands and savings too. Stop in today and pick up a new Metabo HPT 1 3/4 inch 15-degree pneumatic roofing nailer for $20 less, now $269. And get a new DeWalt Tough Grip 52-piece steel hex shank screwdriver bit set for just $14.98, saving you $5. For even more ways Lowe's saves your business money, stop by the Pro Desk and talk to our dedicated Pro team today. Whatever you need to get the job done, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 11/6 U.S. only.
Monifa and Zakieya had a scheduled exorcism at 5 a.m. for a friend named Troy. But Troy never showed up. Maybe because it's fucking 5 a.m. I'm just going out on a limb.
I know people who are up that early. Just saying.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
If I see 5 a.m., I'm still awake. I'm not waking up. That's what I'm.
I see 4:45 every morning.
Tripping.
I don't want to be there.
No, thank you.
Never.
Hard pass.
Every day I go, is today the day I quit my job? Every morning I wake up and go, I think I'm going to call out today. And then I go, no, damn it, I got to go. And then I go, maybe I'll just quit.
I relate to that, but it's at like 11.
Yeah, it's at like early morning. Or like you are maybe getting in bed and I'm like having existential crisis about my future, whether I need this shit or not.
But it really seems weird to me. We don't know if Troy is a real person.
And they're so, what now is that word? Isolated and everything.
Yeah.
There's only a few people they talk to, if any at all. So Troy? Where are you coming from?
The idea of having someone over at 5 a.m. for this exorcism, we don't know if this person ever existed.
There exactly is the point. Is did Troy even exist?
And they were so isolated that I don't think that they would ever have people over.
I don't think Troy was a real person.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Thank you for the theme song.
Tamara Judge, screaming her opinion. Real Orange.
Got it.
House of Orange County. What's wrong with you? It's my opinion.
All right. So that night, sorry,
it's exhausting.
It's about to get, I want to say real, but that's not the word. Like it's about to get fucked up. So the thing is, if you have some, hesitation about listening to violence against children, then absolutely the next 5 minutes may not be for you. I have those issues. That's a trigger for my PTSD. So going through it is rough.
This was really hard just researching it. And the whole time I was researching it, I was like really affected. It doesn't happen to me a lot. It really got me. And I knew you would be too. I know all of our listeners will be. This is really hard, but it's kind of our responsibility. We're in insanity, please.
Right. This is definitely a prime example of an insanity case. But the details they get a little bit intense. So if you are the type of person that's like, yes, give me all the details, definitely this is the case. But if you want to skip through it, just skip ahead a couple minutes. I'll try and put a timestamp in the notes. So if you want to skip it, then you can skip it. Cool?
Cool.
So that night, after they were supposed to have this exorcism in the morning, 10 p.m. comes around, and one of the neighbors became alarmed because he saw a baby alone, locked inside Zakieya's blue Toyota Corolla. And it was just sitting in a parking lot, and the temperature outside was freezing. And the baby was alone.
It's 18-month-old Narelle in a Maryland parking lot.
The neighbor saw that the child's mother, Zakieya, was inside the house with the lights on, chanting aloud and actually responding to someone or something that was answering her back. She was in the middle of a conversation in the house. So the neighbor called the police and reported that the children were in the car for at least 45 minutes. So it wasn't just a snap, turn my head, see the kid, call the police. The neighbor was kind of keeping an eye on it, hoping that she just ran inside, talked to someone, she's coming out. But 45 minutes go by and they're like, I got to call 911. On the 911 call, the caller states that 2 women are coming after him. And then suddenly he says, quote, "Back up off me, ma'am. This is my business. A kid in the car for an hour. That is my business." So obviously they're running up to him saying, it's none of your business. Why are you calling 911? You know?
Oh, yeah. This isn't a good scene.
Yeah. And this is not the time to say this is none of your business. It absolutely, it's the neighbor's business when a kid's in danger in the car.
I can hear myself saying what he's saying. Back up off me, ma'am. This is my business. Yeah, that's my business.
I did not think about it when you read it, but I swear that's in your voice. I can hear you saying it.
I know.
This is my business.
Back up off me, ma'am. I've said it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the person that was the 911 caller also coincidentally happened to be a mental health evaluator. So he started telling the 911 operator that one of the women was, quote, responding to internal stimuli, basically meaning she's hallucinating. She's not responding to what's external, but what's clearly going on in her mind.
It's a very good note that he took there, too, by saying that.
Yes.
This guy, thankfully, he put a lot of pieces in there.
Right. That's absolutely vital information for the operator to have. And also, I don't think I'll ever forget that. That'll be my term going forward. I will know that that's what you say.
I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Responding
and also,
to internal stimuli is hallucinations.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a way to just say, oh, this person's talking to themselves, and it sounds very dismissive, but responding to internal stimuli really says a lot about the state of the person whose brain is going through this. It's happening to them.
Yeah.
He then told the operator that she is talking to herself, and immediately after he says that, he says she's raising her hand like she's about to grab me. So they started having somewhat of a physical altercation because she didn't want anyone to call this in. When the police arrived, the baby was no longer in the car. They knocked on the door of the home and they heard loud music blaring inside. Immediately after they knocked, the music went silent and somebody turned off all the lights in the house, which in and of itself, even if I was an armed police officer, I'd be terrified.
I mean, I just instantly know like they don't want to be found, basically.
Yeah, something awful is happening in that house.
Which makes me wonder why.
Yeah.
But,
So the officers decided not to proceed. I'm not sure if it was like a safety issue or what was going on, but they just didn't pursue it. And they basically wanted to initiate contact with Child Protective Services about the incident so that CPS could follow up at a later date. They figured it wasn't a police matter. It was just, a parental issue. Only a few hours later, early in the morning of Friday, January 17th, Zakieya woke up Monifa, telling her that everyone was dead, referring to the children. Zakieya told her that they needed to get the Bible and put on the, quote, armor of God.
And this goes in with their prepping, is that the kids are going to be dead spiritually. We have to kill their physical body. It's this whole thing. They don't even know what is true anymore.
And you're hit it on the head with the prepper thing. It seems like they have a plan in place. Get the Bible, armor of God.
Time.
Yeah. They had it's like an earthquake drill like we have in California.
That's exactly what it is.
Everybody knows what to do. So they had been preparing for this. So she said that only the children's spirits remained and the demons were here. So it was time to exorcise the demons from their bodies. While they were preparing to exorcise the demons, Zakieya said, quote, "Satan will not take my kids." They went into the younger children's bedrooms first, where 18-month-old Narelle was already crying. Monifa claims that she saw his eyes blacken and then saw the demons jump into Narelle and they attacked. Zakieya first tried to break 18-month-old Narelle's neck, but couldn't. So she began choking him. When that didn't work, she retrieved a serrated paring knife and stabbed him 20 times, while Monifa spoke in tongues to him while stroking his face and trying to keep him calm.
The devil is there.
Yeah.
But not how they think.
Absolutely.
If
that's horrific.
I mean, if that's what you believe, my God.
It really is. That child was facing evil.
Yeah.
After seeing the demon leave Narelle and go into 2-year-old Zakieya, Zakieya told Monifa to go get another knife. Zakieya was choked and then stabbed 13 times. It always breaks my heart, like in the recent case where, you hear that the kid heard the attack and comes in. Oh, that always is so gut-wrenching to me. So they knew what was happening to their sibling, And so that's what happened in this case. 8-year-old Martello heard the attacks in the next bedroom, and he came running into the room to see what was going on. And of course, as a child, the last thing you think is happening is that your parent is attacking your sibling.
And then once you realize what's going on, there has to be that moment where you realize you're next.
Yeah. Oh, my heart breaks for them.
I know it.
So Martello began screaming at them to stop hurting the kids, but she turned and stabbed him, puncturing his lungs. Then, when he fell to the floor, they stomped on him multiple times. The last child, 5-year-old Tania, was stabbed repeatedly while the women told her to confess. Tania was still alive after the attack, so she crawled into another room, and she actually just got into bed, and she just continued to struggle to breathe, although she had this puncture wound in her lung. After the attack, Monifa was in the shower, and Zakieya says that she saw the demon leap from Tania's body and go into Monifa. When she saw the demon take over Monifa, she attacked her and began stabbing and choking her.
I think she's having a moment of clarity and going, oh my God, this bitch killed my kids. Maybe she doesn't even realize she did it. I'm going to attack her. Or she's still in the throes of it.
That's the thing is like, for me, it's like they didn't, of course, this is an insanity case. You can't apply logic.
None.
But the thing that I would think of is if you're planning to murder other people, especially these little kids, you don't think that there's two of you and one of you is going to turn on the other? The demon is still there. It's going to leap from person to person. That means everyone's going to die except for one person.
But this is why they had been training.
We're prepared for this.
The prepping came in because they were going to be ready for when the demons came. They weren't going to get them. Put on your armor of God and get your Bible. It's going to protect us because we've done all this training.
Well, obviously that armor didn't work in the shower.
Something happened where Zakieya was just like, I'm going to kill you through your armor.
Yeah.
Just get everything kind of changed there. Again, we can't apply logic and reason. But it is interesting too how like there's time now. It's died down a little bit. She's in the shower.
Right.
That's weird.
Everything should be over.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up. This is after the fact,
Yeah. And their plan isn't over. So it's like.
And from the beginning, it was all about the kids. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's the thing
yes.
that's striking to me is
Exactly.
from the beginning, it was Satan's after the kids. We have to save their souls. It was never Satan's after everyone in the house. It was never Satan's after you and I. And then all of a sudden it becomes a fight between the two women. It just takes a huge turn. So during this violent shower attack, Monifa grabbed a second knife, but Zakieya was able to take it away from her, and she continued to attack her with 2 knives instead of 1. I don't know how she survived, really. I don't know what happened. But both of them only had minor injuries after the altercation, but they somehow stopped fighting, another thing which I don't understand.
No, the next part is what I don't understand.
And then, according to all reports, it says they just proceeded to shower together.
Everything I read, every single thing, you can't find anything that deviates. And it just sounds like someone who writes porn.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's like a 13-year-old boy wrote it. I don't understand.
Exactly.
I don't get it. But again, no logic, no reason here.
Right. So I don't know if that just speaks to how detached they were from reality, that this just happened. Like, okay, we're fighting. Now we're showering together.
Well, they're covered in blood, so.
Right. There's that. But it sounds kind of dirty. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The way that they're saying it. So then the other part of me is like, is this like a satanic panic, like everybody loves lesbians thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
it might
absolutely,
be.
I know what you mean.
The kind of publications that are just like, let's spin this into something that's dirty and sexy.
It sounds like the Inquirer, Weekly World News.
Right. So I kind of take that with a grain of salt. We know that they had an altercation in the shower and then they both survived. But the whole like showering together part, like this is Wild Things or something.
Exactly.
I don't really buy that. After the shower, they gathered their bloody clothes and all the weapons and threw everything out the window, which is the laziest crime scene cleanup that I've ever heard of.
It's not cleaning up.
I don't understand the thought process there.
You can't.
It's directly next to your house. It was just out their home window. Where do you think it's going? It doesn't make any sense. They then took each child, washed their bodies, and wrapped each of them in a clean white sheet so that they could, quote, appear clean before God. Around 9:40 a.m., police received another call from a different neighbor who said that they are aware, of course, that the family has 4 kids and they're used to a little bit of noise, but last night they had heard an excessive amount of unusual noises coming from the home. All night they had heard loud noises that sounded like jumping, running, crying, and screaming. When the neighbor woke up the next morning, they also noticed that there was blood in a small area around the home. So I don't know if they saw the bloody clothes or just blood.
No, I think it was probably, it's scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
Because they find things, you're going to see in the car. There's the stuff they threw out the window. There's just kind of stuff all over the place. So I think, yeah, people are like leaving to go to work.
And they're like, this is odd.
I remember last night was a little loud.
Right.
Maybe check it out.
The caller also stated, quote, in the car outside, there is a knife with blood. The car has the door open. The house has windows open up there. I don't know if something happened there, but the knife is still there.
And it's January in Maryland at 9 in the morning, at 10 in the morning. So it's not warm.
Right.
Car doors open, everything, windows are open in the house.
It's very strange. When the officers arrived, they checked the car. They found the keys inside and opened the front door of the house to discover blood everywhere. The officers were especially shocked to see Zakieya just casually walking down the stairs, holding her eldest son, who was freshly showered and wrapped in a white sheet. When she saw the police, Zakieya attempted to flee out the back door, but she was apprehended a short time later. Inside the house, police found 18-month-old Narelle and 2-year-old Zayana were dead in Zakieya's bed. Their bodies were still wet from being bathed, and they were both wrapped in white sheets. They found Tiana barely alive with multiple stab wounds in the other room. And she was still in the bed that she had crawled into during the middle of the attack.
She was smart for this little tiny one. Just went and like probably just played dead.
Yeah.
And they honestly, like, I think about this when I was reading it too, was that they probably lost track of her.
Yeah.
In the melee, because she just gets stabbed, takes off, and gets in the bed and just never moves. Probably staying still kept her alive. Blood loss, not as much, right?
Exactly.
And she
can still like
dead.
breathe a little bit
and
from her puncture lung.
like a little mummy.
I know.
And just waited.
Oh,
And
this
is horrific.
Yeah.
But wow, like the fortitude in that little girl.
Right. That was so smart. Zakieya was arrested that day, and Monifa was taken to the hospital for injuries related to the fight in the shower. And she was arrested the next day after she was released from the hospital. Both of them, of course, were held without bond. When asked about the murders, Monifa was able to somewhat explain what her thought process was. At least, of course, in her mind, even if it didn't make sense to outsiders. She was able to explain what she believed was happening at the time of the murders. She stated that she had kept Satan from taking over Narelle and Zayana, and that now God has them. After the murders, Monifa said, quote, "I'm glad the children are in heaven, but I miss them."
Monifa really, to me, from everything, it seemed that she had a really good relationship with the kids and really took care of them a lot because Zakieya was working.
Mm-hmm.
So Monifa spent a lot of time with the kids, and all things say she was very nurturing, caring. I do believe that she probably was, when she comes out of this, oh my God, I miss them. And it might even be that simple of a thought, like, I miss them. I don't know where they went, but I miss them.
Yeah, it's just so tragic because I know she definitely loved these kids. She cared for them. You know, they spent so much time together and she nurtured them, like was said so many times. But to her, saving them from Satan, saving them from being in hell, that was what she thought was love because they were in danger of whatever, eternal damnation or whatnot. And so even though it's horrific and violent, she in her mind truly believed that this was a loving act, that it was saving the children from an awful fate. It's so sad. She just wholeheartedly knew it in her heart that she was like doing the right thing by them.
Yeah.
During her interrogation, Zakieya was recorded on video making...
Pros like you know trusted brands have a hand in helping you nail the job. Start with Lowe's, where you'll find those brands and savings too. Stop in today and pick up a new Metabo HPT 1 3/4-inch 15-degree pneumatic roofing nailer for $20 less, now $269. And get a new DeWalt Tough Grip 52-piece steel hex shank screwdriver bit set for just $14.98, saving you $5. For even more ways Lowe's saves your business money, stop by the Pro Desk and talk to our dedicated Pro team today. Whatever you need to get the job done, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 11/6 U.S. only.
Gestures, putting her hands up and down her body, kind of standing and then sitting, getting up and down, and checking invisible pockets, and also communicating with facial expressions across the room. When a psychiatrist was brought in to examine this behavior, they said that it looked like she was talking to something that wasn't there.
That video is wild. You can watch it. And the only way to describe it is checking invisible pockets. I know it sounds crazy, but someone's asking her a question. And she's like checking her pockets to see, like, do you have your wallet? Oh, I don't know. It's stuff like that where it's very strange. She's responding to internal stimuli.
Yeah.
But to her, it's external.
Absolutely.
And you see it. I mean, she's sitting facing a wall. Full on. It's just, how do I say this? Like, it's amazing to see someone in like that full on responding to internal stimuli state. Just happening, right in front of you. And you realize that they're full on hallucinating. And it is a little bit unsettling to see that.
Of course. Yeah.
It's very unsettling.
And just so sad too.
Yeah.
Because, obviously a horrible thing was done. She did a horrible thing, but she is a victim of what is happening in her mind as well. It never makes this right and it'll never bring them back. But it is really disturbing and sad to see, that this person that just committed this murder is just not with it right now.
And maybe she was before, but right now she's not.
Right. Both women were charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of first-degree attempted murder. So in Maryland, to be found criminally insane, it must be proven that their mental illness kept them from understanding that what they were doing was committing an actual crime. It's extremely rare for an insanity case to have 2 perpetrators involved, since usually the second person is tethered to reality enough to kind of not agree to participate in the violence or stop it or whatnot.
That's my friend. She's a little weird, but we're friends with her anyway. You know what I mean? You've got there's always the yin and the yang to the relationship.
Yeah, that's what we got going on here.
Absolutely. And it kind of changes depending on the day, who's which spot.
But it is really, it's just unusual to see the 2 of them because, like I said, one person will stop the other and say, hey, maybe you want to think about this. Or, when a hallucination is happening, when there's internal stimuli, the other person usually sees this and says, let's go talk to a doctor, So it's rare that there's 2 perpetrators of a crime.
If a stranger came up to me with a knife and their child and said, I got to kill the kid to save the kid, I'd be like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea. If my best friend comes to me and I live with you, right? Like, wow.
Yeah. We're getting you into treatment today, right now.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is very unusual. However, it's speculated that Zakieya and Monifa were experiencing a folie à deux, or a shared psychosis, where symptoms of a delusional belief and even hallucinations are transmitted from one individual to another. It's really rare, but there is a classification for it.
Not so rare when it comes to the church.
Right.
Just saying.
There is that.
Saying. Under my breath.
Don't ever do that voice again.
I mean, what are you talking about?
So Larry Fitch, the former director of the Office of Forensic Services at the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and current University of Maryland Law School instructor, said, quote, when 2 people commit a homicide, it's less likely that both are driven by psychosis than only one is. There are 2 possibilities. A sane person plots a killing and an insane person has an inability to resist. Or an insane person is acting out a delusion and a companion is simply too meek, even in a clinical sane way, to resist. So it makes a lot of sense that that would be happening in this case. One of them had the strong delusions, the other one went along with it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
However, the pair were facing separate trials, so their sanity was evaluated individually, which meant there was little exploration of the folie à deux situation theory. State psychiatrists concluded fairly quickly that Monifa had been considered legally insane at the time of the killings. However, psychiatrists concluded that Zakieya was not legally insane because she had taken steps to avoid consequences, specifically trying to flee the townhouse when the police arrived. And to them, this demonstrated a knowledge of the fact that a crime was committed. Still, other experts have pointed out that fleeing a scene does not equal understanding of consequences. And especially this, is very provable when you look at animals and plants having the reflexes to flee when they sense danger.
Very good point about the plants.
I mean, in every species this happens. I mean, it's just a very normal biological thing to sense danger and then flight, you know?
Yes, you could say that they did have a plan, but the plan was based in not reality.
Exactly.
The armor of God. And even wrapping them in white sheets and cleaning them. It's not like she was cleaning them to remove DNA or blood. She's cleaning them so that when she gives them to the Lord, he can take them as clean. You know, it's all related to the delusion.
Right.
So I don't think it's all the same.
Enough. Yeah, it really, to me, demonstrates not an understanding of consequences. You know, if anything, it's just
fight or
like
flight.
A reflex.
Yeah.
You know? Absolutely. Her attorneys requested more time for her to be mentally evaluated, especially since she had a long history of mental illness, including being admitted involuntarily to a psychiatric facility before her children's death. So it wasn't something that, you know, nobody knew that she had mental health challenges. That, you know, this was in her history.
Yeah. And her husband bouncing out. I mean, there was instability long before this happened.
Right. And it wasn't an instance like we talked about at the very beginning where someone is just grasping at straws. Like, okay, let me just say insanity. You know?
No,
this
not
definitely,
at all.
you know, when she has a history and there's people that can attest to, you know, her struggling before, then we know that there's, you know, a definite good case for insanity. During the trial, while sitting in the courtroom listening to the gruesome details of what transpired that night, Martin Harris, the father of the 4 children, just exploded in the courtroom. It was heartbreaking. He had to be led out of the courtroom by marshals while he continued to just unleash his emotions. A Montgomery County police captain stated that for an exorcism, demonic possession case, the house was very normal. There were no candles, no literature or altars, or ritualistic items that would lead you to just believe that they had these beliefs that they did. And I think, to me, yes, maybe it's worth mentioning what the scene looked like, but there is a part of me that's like, is this satanic panic? Is this just stereotyping what would happen? You know what I mean?
Yes and no, because ordinarily, also, this house has 4 kids in it. They're getting rid of stuffed animals. Makes me think that it's probably very minimalist.
Yeah.
And so if this is what they're into and they're just doing exorcisms all day, yeah, you probably would expect to see a little bit more of like an altar with a knife on it. But I imagine they got to that house and it was pretty empty because they had been getting rid of a bunch of shit because everything has microchips in it and is listening to us.
Yeah. So
they had been just like purging their house, the opposite of hoarding. So maybe it is kind of, you know, something to note that if they're this, at the point where you're calling this an insanity plea case, maybe you would expect to see something like hoarding. Something you would expect to see would be this wild altar for sacrificing children. But none of it's there.
That makes sense. For some reason, maybe I'm a little, like, I don't want to call it defensive.
I get what you're saying.
But I have that censor up where I'm just like, is this satanic panic? Because
just because you look like a punk, Brianna, doesn't mean everyone's going to, you know, assume the worst, right?
Everyone thinks I'm worshiping Satan.
Exactly. You can take that jacket off here. Okay.
Yeah, it just seemed very strange to me. Like, I understand describing the crime scene. Of course, that's important. We get a lot of information from seeing, you know, what's going on within a scene. You can piece together what happened that night. But when you're just pointing out, oh, candles and altars and whatever, it's like, you know, not everyone performs exorcisms the same.
No? Nobody had you in your house? You sure?
It just seemed like, I don't know,
it's
just trying to box
point.
them in. It's very strange. And in an era that's post-satanic panic, you know, where it's like, yeah, we know that some of that stuff was bullshit. My bullshit detector always goes off when I see that kind of stuff. So I don't know if anyone else's did, but I figured it was worth kind of pointing out It's a little strange.
I'm sure someone's did. They'll let us know.
Families of both of the women were shocked at the events and said that they'd never heard either woman ever talk about demons or devils, exorcisms, anything like that. It was a complete shock. However, many have speculated that the woman must have shown some warning signs since both of them had well-documented cases of mental health challenges, and both had even required hospitalization. It seems very, very unlikely that friends and family weren't aware of what's going on. And I'm not trying to blame. I'm just trying to think, like, if they were going to the hospital, if there was, mental health treatment in their past, the people close to them knew that was happening. So why not check in on the kids after the dad left? That's what stands out to me.
Especially, okay, so Zakieya's family, we don't really know a lot, but we're going to assume she's got parents. Maybe she's got siblings. She's got 4 kids. She's probably got a big family. So now, you live in Maryland down the street from your sister Zakieya, who's now got 4 kids and no man. And yeah, her friend Monifa lives there too. But I'm still going to check in on her and just make sure things are good, because I know she's had trouble in the past, and now things could get crazy because she's going to spiral now, right? And those damn kids. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like everybody failed them, or nobody was paying attention, or it was all veiled in church talk.
Yeah.
And so looking back, they're like, well, they talked about their church, but they never talked about demons. When in reality, they're saying, gotta kill the kids to save the kids. But people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I wonder where the other, and even the dad of the 4 kids' family, Martin's family, have got to be, around somewhere. Grandma's, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Why is no one taking visitation with the kids and letting them get so isolated too?
Absolutely. It's striking that nobody noticed anything.
My mother would not leave me alone if this was the case. She'd be like, no, Monifa, mom.
Right.
I'm moving in.
Exactly. That's the thing that's so strange to me.
I have friends whose moms would be like, I'm moving in.
Especially family members are in the press. It's not like they're estranged and they haven't seen each other for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. They have no problem talking later, right?
Right. They're local. They're talking to newspapers. Everybody's, seeing them. But at the time that there was months and months of them just sitting in the house, researching demons.
They're all over Facebook.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem right that they would say that there was no signs when, it seems so obvious that there was stuff going down for months.
I just had an epiphany though. I'm like, and they were on Facebook every day, but I'm like, how many people I know whose lives have just imploded, and I've thought everything was fine because they've been posting online. And then I find out, like everything I thought was true for 3 months hasn't been. And like, if I had just known, I could have been there for that person when this went wrong, right? Oh my God, that's probably what just happened here.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe it's that simple.
There might be an element of just like, well, I see them living their best life online.
Out of sight, out of mind. There it is. That's it. Living their best life online.
Maybe not. I just would think that any of my loved ones, if they went through a divorce, a separation, or if you're moving into a new house, I'm going to come see you, like, hey, housewarming party. Any of those life-changing events, I'd be there for my friend or family, So I don't know. I don't want to demonize the family members, of course, because they went through a horrific experience. But I always want to preach this, get mental health care. You know what I mean? Like, I want to say, hey, if you notice something going wrong, if your cousin splits up from their husband and all of a sudden they're watching a lot of YouTube videos, maybe just think about suggesting a therapist.
Putting up posters of lizards and the queen.
Right.
You never know, right?
That's all I'm saying is like, I think that there's always an opportunity to get help, get treatment, and this is the opportunity when you see your loved one is going through something. So when they say that, it kind of makes me like, hey, this is our learning example. This is our moment, our teachable moment to say, let's get help for our mental health.
And as we always preach here on Murder Dictionary, check your friends, check on your family.
Check on your grandma.
Always.
Yeah. So during the investigation, it was also revealed that both of the boyfriends that Zakieya and Monifa had were imaginary.
That is Just, that's all I need to hear.
And that totally ties in with what you're saying of like, if you see someone online, like, oh, cool, the husband's gone, but oh, they have a new boyfriend, they're happy, you know, then maybe they just seemed like they didn't need to check on him. But that wasn't what was happening. They had no idea.
Fell right through the cracks.
When hearing the detailed summary of what she had done to her children, Zakieya wept openly in court, as though she was just hearing all these details of what happened that night for the very first time. In January 2015, Monifa pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Zakieya's trial was held before a Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge, Terrence McGann. McGann?
McGann.
Yeah, McGann. And it wasn't done in front of a jury, which is notable. In September 2016, Zakieya was found to be criminally insane at the time of the murders. Both women were ultimately found criminally insane and were considered criminally responsible, ensuring that both of them would be held in maximum security psychiatric facilities until they, quote, no longer pose a danger to the public. It is speculated that they will be institutionalized for the rest of their lives.
I don't see them coming back from this.
Yeah, I really don't think that...
Especially Monifa.
Yeah. And I think that they could probably do really well and thrive if they have the right mental health care and get on medication. However, I don't ever see a parole board being like, oh yeah, you're good. Just go work at a daycare or something, you know?
Never again.
Yeah. So they're going to be in forever, it seems. I would assume. Martello and Tania have made a full recovery from the physical injuries sustained the night of the attacks. And their father, Martin, states that both have scars on their chests, but otherwise they're doing okay. Both of them do really well in school, and Martin adds that the kids are really resilient, which I really hope the best for them. My heart aches for them.
Nothing but the best.
Yeah. After sentencing, Zakieya's cousin said that since being properly medicated and receiving the mental health care that she needed, she's back to being, quote, the Kia I remember. So it seems like there's a full recovery being made there. And I hope that that continues. And I hope that the kids just are able to get some therapy, you know?
Yeah. Just put this behind and forward motion. Like the best thing you could do, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Structure, schedule. We move forward. We go to school.
It's got to be all about feeling safe
a
for
normal
them.
Yes. We do everything at the same time. You know what I mean? Everything is very regimented. And these kids are resilient, he says. They've been through hell. I can't even imagine.
They're so strong, you know?
It's insane.
Just to keep going after that, I really can't imagine either.
I always wonder about that when you, as a child, you walk in on anyone, murdering anyone in your family, right? And you know you're next.
Yeah.
I think about those little girls, Chris Watts,
That's
Bella
what I
and
was
Celeste,
thinking of.
and Bella asked him, you know, don't do what you did to my sister, to me. Crazy, right?
It's heartbreaking.
Kids, man, you have to be on some level of not with us. I do believe too, Zakieya was not mentally here. Like this is what this insanity plea is for.
Right.
I
for these kind of cases.
Yes.
And the thing I'm grateful for, I mean, it's just absolutely heartbreaking and tragic, but we do have 2 surviving kids, you know, and like the Chris Watts case, it's like, that's not always what happens. Or like Andrea Yates, there's so many examples where the kids don't survive. And I'm so grateful that these 2 kids got out.
The other example is, of course, the Powell kids. Braden and the other little one, Josh Powell, Susan Cox Powell's missing still technically. But Josh Powell's the one that killed the kids with a hatchet and then blew the house up inside after she's still missing.
This is just the area where it shows that I don't know anything.
No, I'm glad you don't know what I'm talking about. I think everyone else might, because there's a huge podcast right now called Cold that everyone's listened to.
I think everyone else knows.
I think everyone else knows, okay? In this community. No, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
But it's just not ringing bells. We all know that I'm notorious for having the worst memory ever.
Well, this is something you would block out because it's kids.
That's the thing, is I think that that you're talking about Cold podcast. I specifically was like, I can't. I can't listen to it. I'll just cry. I'll have like PTSD stuff and not be able to function. So I'll skip.
I'm obsessed with finding Susan. Where is she? She's in a mine in Utah.
A mine in Utah.
He drove like 1,000 miles around in that rental car. And how big is that area? When you see the map of where he went and stuff, I hope someday. I want to know. I want to know where she is. I want her to be found. It's really hard for me. But this is not about that. We're going to have to talk about this
This has been Monologue Corner with Court.
I'm sorry. Cut it out.
No, I'm just teasing you. But yeah, I mean,
no, it's true.
There are so often cases like this where we just have no idea what happened. Everybody that was in the house is deceased except for one person. Or in a lot of family cases within the household, there's a lot of suicide where it's murder-suicide. So the fact that these two children made it out is just really miraculous, you know? So I'm grateful that she just crawled into the bed.
I wonder if they have any relationship with her mom. If they write her, if they're allowed to, if maybe part of her, she's not allowed to contact, who knows? I mean, I don't think they'd want to, but you never know.
Everybody's different, you know? Some people just want to at least have the conversation, or it helps them to just know their mom, you know? And other people are like, never. Nope. Here's a wall. Let's put it up. That's gone. So, yeah, I hope that they can do whatever they need to do to process, you know, where whatever they need to have interaction with her or not, I hope that that happens for them, you know?
Yeah. After all this, Dr. Drew was on HLN talking about this. And one of the things is many women who are ruled criminally insane, it's due to and noted that it's usually related to religiosity.
Yeah.
Wild and out. And so I'm reading this and I'm getting really like judgy. And I'm not judgy about the church, really. I just have feelings, sure. But then Dr. Drew put it in the perfect phrase, and it was not blaming the church, identifying it as a problem. And so I wrote that down here because I felt really like, okay, I don't feel this, you know, but it's just when in the wrong hands or brain, right? It can breed some crazy shit. And we see it all the time.
And you know how I am about statistics. Like, I would wonder what the studies are on this, because it does seem so often, obviously, as people that are into true crime, you see a lot of different kinds of cases, and then you start to categorize them. Oh, it's like this case. It's like that. We do see a lot of these religious cases that are insanity cases where, you know, there's a foundation of religion and combined with some form of mental health struggle, it really gets distorted to really cause a lot of damage. But that's the perfect way to put it. Like, I'm not blaming, but I'm identifying it as a problem.
Not blaming the church, identifying it as a problem.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
that's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're probably going to have a little bit of more religion come up. I don't want to do everything as a religious case. I know next week is not, but it's a commonality in insanity cases. Yeah. And I'd like to do an insanity Patreon case too. So, I mean, we're definitely going to come across some more religion.
I'm into it.
So yeah, this has been our very first letter I episode for insanity. So yeah, if you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and see what's going on in between episodes, then check us out over there. We're going to put the links in the show notes. And if you want to join our Patreon and get access to bonus episodes and stuff, then definitely check out patreon.com/Murder Dictionary Podcast. And we want to thank the people that joined our Patreon this week. Gia, Alexandra, Carrie, and Jill.
Thank you.
So thanks, you guys. We always appreciate people listening, going on our Patreon, and especially if you rate and review or share it with your friends and family. We really appreciate, shouting us out, letting people know about Murder Dictionary.
Feel free to leave us a 5-star review.
So thanks for listening, and we will be back next week with more insanity.
Insane in the membrane.
Stupid.
Insane in the brain. I was waiting the whole time. I'm like, when can I pull this out? Yeah. We're in the valley. Be Real's got a dispensary in Sylmar.
I know. Be Real's everywhere. Everybody has a friend that knows Be Real if you're in our area.
Isn't that the best? He is the one that everybody hangs their weed hat on.
Oh, yeah. So-and-so knows Be Real.
And as soon as you tell me you know him, your cred's gone. I'm not impressed anymore. I was until you brought up Be Real. Sorry, Be Real. We love you, but god damn, come on. Everybody knows you, dude.
So we'll see you next week.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
And now, an ad from Dad.
All right, save money on car insurance when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Can I take these off? All right. What is this? This looks good. Wow, that's well made. Where did you get this? I'm talking to you with the hair. Yeah, where did you get this? It's good stuff. That's solid. That's not veneer, that's solid stuff.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discounts not available in all states or situations.